Hi everyone and welcome to episode 122 of the Talk is Cheap show. I'm here live in North London in salubrious surroundings as usual. Just want to say before we start, happy Eid Mubarak to all our Muslim followers, friends and viewers. But we have live in the house with us today none other than Curtis Shaw from Curtis Shaw TV in the house. What are you saying, bro?
Yo, what's happening?
What have you been up to, bro?
Oh man, just you know what? We're back in Europe, aren't we, man?
We're back in Europe
already, man. Planning the trips, but we'll
back in Europe. How does that feel?
It feels good, but we need the proper Europe.
I want to
be going to the new camp, not to Azerbaijan.
Wednesday or Thursday?
Yeah, I need Wednesday night.
It's Wednesday,
football,
yeah. I think you know what? I'm confident, bro.
You are, aren't you?
I think you might get your wish. You know what I mean? But hey, we're going to talk about that and more. First things first. We always kick off the show by starting off by looking at Arsenal's last game since the last show. So Arsenal's last game since our last show was an away trip to West Ham. Big game. West Ham. Big game.
Yeah.
Always a big game, but this one, you know, there's a lot on it. Both teams vying for European football. If Arsenal got the result they wanted, they would get guaranteed European football. West Ham, they're nearly there. They're sort of on the periphery, but they needed the win, even though they're going good guns in Europe themselves. So yeah, it was a big game, man, all to play for, and yeah, it went well for Arsenal, didn't it? Let me start with yourself. What was your thoughts on that? You give us your thoughts, bro.
I mean, I think Arteta described it as an ugly game, or winning ugly. It wasn't one of them games you're going to look back on and watch the highlights, but I think it's the business end of the season, man. I'm more interested in the result than the performance. And I think, we've took 6 points off West Ham this year, which is a big improvement. We've struggled against them, especially away from home. And look, it was good to get goals in a different way, you know. I like seeing centre-back score headers and, different people chipping in. I think Gabriel's level with Lacazette on 4 goals now. And
it's amazing.
do you know what? I called them the transplant boys, man. The 2 centre-backs, you know, all that hair, winning their headers. So.
What was it that Ramsdale said? It's taken him 6 years and a new hairline. Yeah.
That Turkish trip, you know.
It's paying dividends, man. Paying dividends. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it wasn't the most fluent of performances.
No.
And we scored first, courtesy of Rob Holding. And then you're thinking to yourself, you know, because that came in, I think that was the 38th minute. That goes in, you're thinking, you know, okay, they've broken it. They've broken the ice. Now we're going to go on and assert ourselves. But then, unfortunately, we conceded a goal right on half-time. A few people were saying that Gabriel should have got a bit closer, plus the turn wasn't the best. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I thought it was poor defense.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, he could have closed that gap a little bit. I know the ball actually hit him.
It did.
Before it went in, but you think if he closes that space a little bit more, he might have been able to block it. And the turn. I mean, it is a natural thing to turn your body, but when, you know, centre-backs, you expect them to take a whack, really, and block it. So it was a bit of a soft goal to concede just before half-time as well.
Although going in at half-time, I know some people were a bit critical of the defending, and I guess I do understand it. But I have to say, from my perspective, the way I was watching it, I wasn't too perturbed because I didn't think, you know, I mean, that was game over. I was just a little bit disappointed that they'd conceded the goal. Yeah. But then, you know, the game restarts second half, and within 6 minutes, we're back in front or something like that. Gabriel redeemed himself, sneaked in at the back post there, good header. Goalkeeper could possibly have done better.
Flapiansky again, former Gooner, maybe he done us a little favour there and just threw it in, you know.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good move. Martinelli got to the back post, whipped it in. Gabriel, good run round the back. As I initially saw him head it, I thought, oh, you've headed it straight at the goalkeeper. But then, like you said, he kind of palms it in, and
I think if you're Gabriel though, and you're coming in at the post. The far post like that, you just want to make a good connection, contact, get it on target, and just hope for the best. So yeah, man. I mean, listen, we got that, we went in front, and then we saw the game out. Like you said, it wasn't the best game of quality I've ever saw. But you know, I mean, in terms of the game stats, I've got it here. Arsenal 13 shots, West Ham 8. Arsenal 7 shots on target to West Ham's 3. So I think we pretty much deserved it. Although West Ham edged us on possession, but deserved win.
I think in the end we deserved it. I thought at the start West Ham looked the more energetic, which was surprising because they'd played on the Thursday. But I think as the game wore on, they kind of slowed down and I don't think we kept the ball that well. I think that's what Arteta was alluding to. We got to keep the ball better, but I think in the end I think we just did enough to win. We didn't do too much exciting, but we did enough. There was a couple of good performances. I thought Holding had a very good game.
He did.
I thought El Neni played well again.
Yeah.
It wasn't the best game, but the result was vital. Just to win the game. I think Spurs had won before, so we had to win. So it was a massive win.
And like you said there, it's very important to try and get some momentum going, get the wins, keep the wins flowing, and and keep the vibes on point. And that's what I was pleased about. The fact that, like you said, we didn't play that well, but we got the 3 points, and like I said, keep that momentum. And I'll tell you what, bro, and this is going to be the subject of the show this week. I'm looking at that win that we had. Okay, you said Tottenham won, but Chelsea slipped up, and we're now just 3 points behind Chelsea.
Here we go.
With the same amount of games. No, but you know what it is, right? I was looking at it and I was thinking momentum, form, confidence, all those things are vital. And we're coming into like the business end of the season, as we've said in previous weeks. And if we can just keep that going for another 3-4, I know it's like say only, it's still a big deal, but if we could keep that same kind of momentum going for the next 2 or 3 weeks, man, who knows? Do you think the 3rd place is on? Because I don't think it's beyond us. And I tell me what you think, bro. I think that if you're Mikel Arteta, you might want to be revising your target a little bit. And I'll tell you why. Because Chelsea are in sight now, aren't they? They're not playing well. They've not won in their last 2 games. They had a draw against Man United. They were beaten by Everton at the weekend. Now, that's going to be disappointing for them to get beaten by Everton like that. Yeah. They've got the FA Cup game coming up. I'm sure the players won't say openly, but I'm sure for a lot of them that is their main focus now, because they're pretty much going to get Champions League football, you would have thought. Yeah. So, I don't know, if you're Arsenal, the way things are going right now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, if we aim for the 3rd place, we're likely going to get 4th anyway, so why not just aim for that and see how you go? What's your thoughts on that, bro?
Do you know what I like about what you're saying here? A few weeks ago, remember when I was saying, we should be getting 4th? I was hearing, but at the start of the season, the target was 6th. Now you want to revise the target. That's what I said. Targets change, man.
Yeah, they do. No, you are right.
Do you know what I mean? Listen, I get what you're saying. I think if you aim high, it's always better. So we should be thinking, can we catch Chelsea? I got to be honest, and this may be the years of difficulty as an Arsenal fan. I'll be happy to just get 4th. Right. If we get 3rd, that's a bonus, but 4th for me will be, more than enough, because I think there are still fine margins in this race for top 4. We are only 2 points ahead, and we've still got to play Tottenham. I think where we're getting a bit excited, and even me, I'm looking at the weekend ahead and I'm thinking Tottenham play Liverpool. We play Leeds. We all like to predict results in our mind. We're all thinking Liverpool will do us a favour, beat Spurs, we'll beat Leeds, we'll be 5 points clear going into that North London derby. So, listen, I think we've got a right to be optimistic and look ahead. I think you should always look ahead. But I'm still a little bit cautious because this is Arsenal, and we lost those 3 games to 3 teams we should have beat. We've then beaten 3 teams that you might have thought we would have dropped points against.
That's what I said about momentum, man.
So now I'm looking at the Leeds game thinking, I'm so confident that we're going to win, but that's almost when we're at our most. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying. Look ahead for Chelsea and try and catch them, but just get in that top 4.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that, we should expect 3rd place. And I'm not even saying we should expect 4th place, but I'm saying if I'm the manager, I'm saying, listen, let's try and win all 4 games. Listen, I know he's going to say that anyway. We try and win all 4 games, but I'm also going to be encouraging the players and saying, listen, you do realise, man, that if we win all our games
we could get
and Chelsea slip up, there is a distinct possibility that we could get 4th. And as I say that, let's have a little deep dive into some of those games. So there's 4 games left for Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham. So let's start with Chelsea. They've got Wolves at home, Leeds away, Leicester home, Watford at home.
It's not the most difficult, is it? That's the only problem.
That's right. I mean, Wolves are pretty much on the beach.
They're on the beach.
Yeah.
Watford are basically down.
Yeah.
Leicester are focusing on Europe.
They've got their Conference League.
And who's the other one? Who's the other one?
Watford.
Oh, yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah,
and the thing is, I think Chelsea, up until that cup final, all their players will be thinking, I've got to play well, I've got to get in that team for the final.
Yeah.
So unless Chelsea take their eye off it a little bit, I think they'll win most of them games. That could be the problem. But you never know.
You never know. And plus, I don't know if you heard the same thing that I heard. You probably did. But there's rumours going around that there might be some internal unrest in the dressing room. We know that Lukaku obviously looks unsettled. But we're hearing stories that, we know that, for example, the likes of Rudiger are off.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that makes the dressing room unsettled, but there's rumours around one or two other players not being happy at their contracts and that they might be looking to leave.
Yeah.
So you think that might affect?
Yeah, listen, I think there's a lot going off at Chelsea at the moment. I think Rudiger's going Real Madrid. They're saying Christensen could be going Barca. You know, you don't know who's going to own the club.
Well, there's talks. I don't know if you heard. I won't say talks. That's probably a bit of a stretch. Rumours that Nketiah might be leaving as well, the captain.
So when you know 3 experienced players are on their way out, the manager's a bit... Your 100 million signing, he didn't even come on at the weekend against Everton, his old club, which is embarrassing. You know what I mean? So there are a lot of things. So maybe that's where we could catch them off guard.
And let's be honest, given their financial situation, there's going to be players there who are probably not certain of where they're going to be playing next season. And look, they're only human. That's likely to, play on their minds a little bit. So they might not be all the way focused, which is what I'm saying. So that might play into things a little. Probably has already, which is why they're not beating teams or losing to teams that you would expect them to win. So there's a real possibility there. Arsenal's remaining 4 games. Leeds United, we're going to talk about them in a minute. Tottenham, Newcastle and Everton. In terms of a run-in, how do you think that compares with Chelsea?
I think it's harder than Chelsea.
Yeah,
because
I think so.
Obviously, the North London derby, we know is going to be a hard game. Newcastle playing pretty good at the moment, so that won't be easy. And then Everton, they might have to win that game to stay in the Premier League. You never know. So
I reckon that relegation thing could go right down to the wire.
So
that could be a hell of a last game. That
it could. So I think ours is trickier than Chelsea's, but we could still. I'd expect us to beat Leeds and Everton at home. And Tottenham, even if we can go there and get a point, would be a great result, just so they can't make up ground. So,
and then speaking of Tottenham, they're away to Liverpool the weekend, and then of course that massive game with ourselves, Arsenal, and then Burnley and Norwich. Yeah, Norwich are gone.
Burnley are all right at home. But I think that's at Tottenham. So, I think for us, our hope is obviously Liverpool beat Tottenham, which we're all hoping and expecting. And then we need to go there and at least avoid defeat, really. If we could beat them, I think it'd be pretty much wrapped up going into them last 2 games. But it's a big if.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to come down to any one of those 3, Chelsea, ourselves, Tottenham dropping points, isn't it, really? That's what, because, something's got to give. But it's interesting because, like I said, Chelsea are faltering, man. There's no doubt about it. And we have form, we have momentum, we have confidence. And then, with regards to the 4th place, let's face it, we are in pole position. We could go to Tottenham and draw and still technically hold on to that 4th spot. So I think, in terms of the 4th place, if we can keep our form going, I know it's easier said than done, but if we can keep our form going, we should hold on.
I think every Arsenal fan would say from this position now, we should be getting 4th. If we was to lose 4th now, I think it would be a disaster.
I think it would.
With 4 games to go and you're 2 points clear as well. And they play Liverpool, Tottenham, so I can't see them beating them. So, I agree with that, bro. Okay, so let's look at the Leeds game then. Our ops of the week. Leeds. Let's have a look at where they are. So I think they're 17th in the table at present. Things are not going great for them, although they've appointed Jesse Marsh and he's not too bad. What do you make of their season so far? I think they're in big trouble. I've got to be honest. Do you know what? A few weeks ago, I think most people thought Leeds were all right, but Burnley, I think, have won 4 out of 6, and Everton beat Man United and beat Chelsea, which people didn't really see coming. And I think Leeds have got some tough games coming up as well.
Yeah.
I think they're in big trouble. I've got to be
You
honest,
do?
Leeds. Yeah, do you know what? I would go as far to say they might even be the favourites now to go down.
Oh, you do?
I think so, yeah, because Everton have got a couple of home games that I think are very winnable. And let's face it, Everton have got the best team out of Everton, Leeds and Burnley. You saw that at the weekend, you know, Richarlison. When these guys perform, they're good players. Everton shouldn't be in a relegation battle, really. And Burnley have just found late form all of a sudden.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
So I think Leeds are in big trouble, but they will fight. It'll be a difficult game. Rafinha's a very good player. We're going to have to keep him quiet, but we've got to be beating Leeds at home, really.
I would have thought so.
And I think we will beat them as well.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, just looking at the stats since Jesse Marsh, the American manager, took over after Bielsa was sacked in March, he's played 8 games. He's not done too bad, you know. 3 wins, 2 draws and 3 losses.
It's not bad.
But like you said, they are struggling a little bit at the moment. And like you said, we should be favoured to beat them, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Any danger men for Leeds?
It's Rafinha, isn't it? And let's be honest, I mean, our left-back situation at the moment is a little bit shaky. You know, Nuno was a bit shaky against West Ham, and I think Rafinha being their best player, they're going to target him. So you got to keep him quiet. You know what? He's a player that I think a lot of teams will be looking at, especially if they go down.
Yeah.
And I think they've missed, obviously, Phillips and Bamford have been injured a lot this season. I don't think they've been able to cope, but Rafinha's definitely their standout player.
And of course, in the corresponding game that we played them back in December, we beat them comfortably, didn't we? I think that was one of Arsenal's better performances of the season. We beat them 4-1. I think Martinelli scored a couple, Smith Rowe and Saka. So yeah, I mean, let's face it, Arsenal are likely to take confidence from that.
Yeah.
And Leeds, they're coming into the cauldron a little bit. They're struggling. They've got to try and get something from this game. And I think, like you said, we should start as firm favourites. What sort of team do you think you'll go with for this game?
I think he'll play the same team. The only thing, I mean, as I said, the only question mark would be Nuno. I think he'll probably stick with him, but just that Rafinha factor against him is a bit of a worry. I mean, Jared Bowen scored at the weekend playing in that same position. It's just Nuno, you've got to keep the ball better. You know, he didn't play too bad defensively, but on the ball, giving possession away. Will he bring Cedric in at left back, or will he stick with Nuno? But I think, obviously, Ben White, actually, that's the other one. I think if Ben White's fit, does he come straight back in, or does he leave Rob Holding? Because Rob Holding got man of the match.
He did, yeah.
So, I mean, he'll have a tricky one there to decide that.
I think my thoughts on Nuno is that I like his athleticism. I like his endeavour. I like his energy, but I think sometimes his decision making can let him down a little bit. He can sometimes make the wrong decision at the wrong time, and it does good. But you know what? I think they have to stick with him, bro. I think a guy like that, a young player like that, needs the manager to show some confidence in him. He needs to be coached, obviously. He needs to be, you know what I mean, sat down and really shown the error of his ways and say, look, man, you need to eradicate this side of your game, and this is how you can do it. I mean, you see Arteta on the touchline, he's micromanaging from the touchline. I would suggest, and listen, I'm sure he does it already, sit the guy down, maybe go through some videos of the games, showing where he's gone wrong and saying, listen, man, you're doing a lot right, but A, B, C, D, E, look, these are things that you need to do better. And I think you'll probably come through it, because I think the potential is there.
It's the one thing for me is that you just got to keep the ball better. You know, in the Premier League, you can't give the ball away cheaply. It gives away possession too easy.
So what do you put that down to?
I just think that's him. I just think that's him. You saw when
so it's a mental thing rather than a talent thing.
Well, when we bought him, a lot of Benfica fans were saying you'll love him going forward, but defensively he's a bit all over the place. And I think we've seen that, but we've only kind of got what we've got now. So it's whether you go with him or Cedric, but it'll be interesting to see who he goes with.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I would continue with going Nuno, yeah. Because I think going forward, as the Benfica fans said, I like the look of him. I also like the fact that he's pretty quick, he's athletic, he can get up and down the pitch, and I think in the Premier League you do need that. Cedric, on the other hand, more experienced, good player, but if it's me, I'm leaning towards Nuno, man.
You're sticking with him.
What about yourself?
I mean, do you know what? I don't want to destroy his confidence, but do you know the worrying thing for me when a player's not doing the basics right? You know, to me, a simple thing like passing the ball and keeping possession, if you can't do that well, then that worries me, man. Listen, I think he'll probably stick with him because Cedric's not a natural left back and he's played there before and struggled, so I think he will stick.
And then
with
you're coming
Nuno.
up with a guy like Rafinha, you do need that physicality, you do need to be able to match, because Rafinha is quick, he is tricky, and you need someone that's going to be able to stay with him on that side of things. So I wouldn't disrupt the flow, man. I would keep Nuno.
What would you do with Rob Holding and Ben White?
Now that's an interesting one, because like you said, Rob Holding came in last week. Not only did he play well, but he scored, he looked comfortable in there. Ben White is one of your go-to players, really. He's done a great job, come in as one of your big money signings. And so far, you have to say, has lived up to his billing. So it's kind of hard, isn't it, really? It's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one.
It's a tricky one. You know what? And this kind of goes against the grain a little bit for me when I talk about keeper winners. I think I might have to say to Rob Holding, look, you've done really well, man, and you will get more game time, but I'm going to go back to my best team. I think I would.
Because ultimately, the week after you play Tottenham, and you're going to want Gabriel, Ben White back together.
Right.
So
you're going to want to re-establish that partnership.
Yeah, I think you need them, because you wouldn't want to play Holding against Kane, really, even though he played well.
I prefer not to. You'd want what you consider to be your best centre-backs in that game. You're coming up against, let's face it, some pretty formidable opposition, certainly in terms of the strikers with Kane and Son, people like that. So you do need your best guy. And if Ben White is fit for the Leeds game, you do want him, give him some action before the Tottenham game, don't you?
Yeah.
So listen, Rob Holding is a good team man. I'm sure he's not going to take it personal. But if I'm Arteta, I'm going to call him into my office and say, Rob, thanks. Great hairline, bro. Nice stole.
I'm waiting for you to take that trick, man. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? I might have to consult with, or even Andrew Stanton. Man, and see, But yeah, that's what I would probably do. Any other changes to the team?
I'd probably stick with the rest.
About Nicholas.
Who? Nicholas.
I didn't even see him on the bench.
I didn't even see him warm up.
No,
I think he just sits down and says, "You know what, man? I'm not playing today, man. I'm just." I think he'll be gone in the summer. He's actually being linked with West Ham as well.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that. Oh well. You know what? He could do worse. He could do worse. He'll stay in London. West Ham are a good team. Let's be honest, man. It's pretty much over for him at Arsenal, isn't it? It's done. Which is regrettable because we've said many times on the show we do like Pepe, but for whatever reason it's not worked out. Things move on. Let me just read out a super chat here from Peter Flair. I would play Holding at Spurs. He's earned it. I guess he has, but as we said, Peter, Ben White has done. It's not like Ben White's not been playing well recently. He has played very well. He's played in different positions as well. Like I said, he's one of our big money signings. You have to say that so far he's lived up to his billing. And if he's coming back fit and ready, it would be kind of harsh to say to him, you're left out.
It's the sad part of football.
It is.
Holding really deserves to play after that performance, but because of what Ben White's done all season, I think if Ben White's fit, you'll see Ben White come back in, to be honest. Yeah, I would imagine so. And I have to say that the manager looks like he is a fan of Ben White. And why wouldn't he? He brought him into the club after all, wouldn't he? Okay, so let's go back to the Leeds game then, bro. A prediction. What you say? Do you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going 3-0.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't do this often, by the way.
Mind you, you say 3-0, but I mean, we beat them 4-1 at their place.
Yeah, no,
so it's not like, we can't score goals against them.
I think at the moment we look a bit more lively going forward. I think if we score early, their heads will drop. They got battered by City, didn't they, at the weekend?
Yeah. And they are known for conceding goals, aren't they, Leeds?
Yeah,
I mean, one thing I did think with Jesse Marsch is that when he came in, although he's got a similar style with the high press and the energy and all the rest of it, he said he was going to try and make Leeds a bit more defensively responsible. I think he's done that, but they're still open to shipping goals. And they're not really scoring many, which means that they're always going to be under pressure in games. And I think, like you quite rightly said there, if Arsenal do get an early goal or score first, then there's a high probability that Leeds' heads could drop. And they could be in for a bit of an arse whooping. So, I don't know. So what are you saying, 3-0?
I'm going 3-0, man. I think, got a good break until the weekend. Confidence high. Ben White should come back into the fold as well. I think the fans will be up for it, man.
I agree. I agree.
Go for a 3-0 win.
Yeah, I see that. But I'm going to go for a win as well. But I'm going to go by 2 clear goals. Leeds will come and they will put up a fight. Because one thing I have noticed straight away since Jesse Marsch took over at Leeds is that they've not thrown the towel in, have they?
No, they're still fighting.
They're still fighting. And they have a good fan base. I'm sure Leeds will take up their allocation this weekend. They'll make a little noise and they'll add to the atmosphere. So the players will definitely be playing for the shirts and the fans and the club. But I still think that we've got the extra quality. We're at home. Like I said, we've got the momentum, we've got the confidence, we've got the form, and I'm expecting Arsenal to get a win. So yeah, 2 clear goals for me.
Eddie will be up for it as well. Remember, he was on loan there.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I was going to say, what do you think of Eddie up front? Last couple of games, he's got the brace, didn't he, when he come in there? It's been kept up there since. To me, I've got to say, man, I would retain him.
Yeah, you've got to, because I saw a stat that Lacazette had only had 4 shots in 9 games. Eddie had 4 shots against West Ham in 1 game, so you need strikers who can shoot, and because the high press, the energy, he gives you all of that. He does. I don't think he's the answer long term. No. But till the end of the season, he's ahead of Lacazette, no doubt. So you've got to stick with him.
Yeah, I think you're right there, bro. I'll tell you what I do like about Eddie. When he's played in that up front role there by himself, he has occupied the defenders quite well. He's quite nippy. He's not express pace, but he's nimble, he's quick, he's energetic, he's enthusiastic, and he does occupy defenders. And he's showing me a bit more confidence in front of goal now as well. He had a couple of efforts. One of them was very close. The other one wasn't too far away. I think... he's getting better. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
No, definitely, yeah. Look, you need to start games to show what you're about.
That's right.
And he hasn't been starting. I still think I would be cautious with the likes of Eddie and El Neni about whether maybe you give them new contracts. Because I see a lot of people going, he's played well, new contract. I'm like, well, I'd wait until the summer and have a look at it first.
Yeah, I hear you, but it begs the question, if Arsenal do get Champions League football, which, let's face it, it's starting to look like it could be a real possibility, let's be honest. Would it not be right to reward those players who previously have been on the periphery and say, look, you know what, you've been great team men, you've not always featured, but when asked, you've come in, you've done a job, we are rewarding you with a year or two's contract. Do you think that's beyond the pale or what?
It's not beyond the pale, but I think sometimes a club gets promoted.
Yes.
And they get rid of players who got them promoted. Now, by right, you could say you should keep all of them, but you've got to step up a level.
It's a ruthless
I think
world.
To go into the Champions League, Arsenal have to lift that football club another level. You saw that Real Madrid-Man City game last week. The level was unreal. If we're going to reach that level, we have to improve.
That's a good point.
I understand. Look, if you give El Neni a year or 2 years as a squad player, he's probably going to accept it. But for me, Eddie wants first team football. He can't be the first choice, and I'm not sure he's even ready to be second choice if you're in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So for me, I would still probably not keep Eddie and El Neni, to be honest. But it wouldn't surprise me if Arsenal kept them. To be honest, because I think El Neni I think he did an interview last week. He said he'd sign a contract if we offered it him. So, you know what I mean? So, but I wouldn't be desperate to keep either one of them. I think El Neni's been here 6 years. He's a decent squad player, but
yeah. You know what I think it will come down to ultimately is if we do qualify for Europe in the Champions League places, and secondly, it's also going to depend on, let's be honest, the vagaries of the market.
Yeah.
Because come the summer, you know what it's like. There's going to be a real scramble for players, and it's such an unpredictable market. There's going to be players coming and going all over Europe.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Arsenal will be doing their due diligence. They'll be looking at a number of players, and it will honestly depend on who they can get across the line.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think any of those guys will be dead certs to return. Or maybe Xhaka might be.
Oh, Xhaka, yeah. Well, he's talking about getting the armband.
Yeah, well, that's it.
You know, so that was. I'm sure you'll be celebrating that one, won't you?
Well, you know what? with the Xhaka situation, as I said, bro, he's playing well. He's part of at the moment a winning side. You can't knock it, bro.
You love it.
He's not.
Laurie Xhaka.
He's not the most talented, but he does have talent,
Yeah.
and he's doing a good job. And I'm sure that's what all the manager's interested in right now. So to recap, you've gone for 3-0. I've gone for 2 clear goals. We've both gone for wins. So if we do win that game, which let's face it, I think we would be favourites to, would be expected to win, then we're putting more pressure on those other 2 teams there, Chelsea and Tottenham. What do you think in terms, is it realistic that we can home in on that 3rd place? Because I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that is a distinct possibility. The pressure's on, man. The pressure's on, and like I said, Chelsea at the moment, I'm looking at them. They're not looking the solid unit that we're looking at earlier in the season. They are faltering. That, to me, that is obvious. I think, to be fair, I watched their game against Man United. They should really have won that game. But against Everton, man, I think that they were
poor,
yeah. Is that a sign that there's something amiss there? And you know, I mean, could we sneak in the back door and get 3rd?
I think we'll have to win most of our games, aren't we? Really, to get, because I think we're still 3 points behind them, and they've got better goal difference.
Yeah. I know this is all hypothetical, people, but it's worth the discussion.
I think the hope would be they lose the cup final and then their heads just roll off, and they start dropping points afterwards. If we can beat Leeds, beat Everton, beat Newcastle, get at least a point against Spurs, we'd have a chance. If we could get 10 points out of them last 4, we'd have a chance, but it's not going to be easy. You know, like I said, I like looking ahead. If we can get 3rd, great, but just if you give me 4th right now, I'm happy to take that.
Of course. Yeah.
But I know what you're saying.
I'm just looking at it from the perspective as in life sometimes, if you aim high, you don't quite get what you want, you're still going to get what you had, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hoped for, anticipated, or you know, but there is a possibility, and I think that whilst there is that possibility on, I would imagine that the manager is going to be saying to those guys, listen, you win your games, you do realise, don't you, that not only could you get 4th, imagine if we get 3rd, what season.
Because if he gets 3rd, Arteta can turn around and say, you know that contract we agreed in January, I think you might have to push it up a little bit. On that. Yeah, I need a bit more money now. So he will be wanting to get that 3rd place.
But you know what, that is an excellent point, because we were told earlier in the season that one of the reasons why Arsenal had offered him his extension of that contract was because apparently there were other clubs looking at him. Now, if he was to get 3rd, I could foresee a situation whereby, because let's face it, there will be the usual managerial merry-go-round come the summer. You never know. Yeah. You could find
Listen, if he gets
Arsenal
third,
in a fight to retain the services of Nketiah. Now, who would have thought we would have been saying that?
I'd never expect to be saying
I
that.
certainly wouldn't.
You know me, I haven't been the guy's biggest fan, but I've said all along, if he gets top four with this squad, he deserves huge credit, whether you're a fan of him or not, because if we'd brought a new manager in and he'd got fourth, he'd be hailed for that as some sort of genius. So we still got to give him his credit, but got to get us over that finish line, man. A lot can change in 4 games. Hopefully Liverpool do us that favour. And beat up Spurs at the weekend, you know? Which I think they will.
You think they will?
I think they will, man. They're ruthless at the moment.
Yeah, I think so as well. Yeah, and that's why I said, you know, the teams around us are going to be dropping points, man. You know, I think if we can maintain our form, just take care of our business, teams are going to drop points. I think we might even drop points at Tottenham because that game
possibly
could be a draw. But if it is a draw and we win the rest of our games, we'll still get that fourth place.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. So much to look forward to, bro.
Yeah,
any other points you wanted to offer on that?
No, just obviously we need to make sure we get the win this weekend, and I think Liverpool-Tottenham is on the Saturday night. It's a Saturday night game, so we'll know going into our game already. So if we've seen them drop points, we should be absolutely flying going into that Leeds game, man. So no excuse. We need to make sure this isn't another Brighton at home or a game that we all expected to win and we drop points. Just got to do our job, score early. I think we'll be all right, man.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the fact that this game at the weekend is at home against a team, let's face it. I mean, I know in those other games that you were talking about, the Brighton, the Southamptons, not so much the Crystal Palace, because that was an away game and I always anticipated that was going to be a real hard game. But certainly the Brighton and the Southampton games were games that we were expected to win and we didn't. But we've recovered well since then. I'd like to think we've learnt the lessons from those games. And I'm comparing us with other teams. Okay, Spurs got a win at the weekend, but before that, they'd look a bit off the pace, hadn't they?
Yeah.
I think we are emerging favourites for that top four place. It's now, like I said, can we put together a little string of wins that will see us
over the line, over
the line, and maybe not just fourth, but third. But guys, let us know what you think. You've heard what we've had to say. Listen, I want to repeat, I'm not saying that we are going to get third. I'm saying that, how can I put it, Curtis? Is it justifiable? Is it feasible that the manager would approach the players and say, look, you do realise, because I'm sure the players and the managers, they follow this stuff. They follow the tables, they follow the form. They'll say the usual stuff about one game at a time, and that makes absolute sense. But I'm sure they'll be projecting forward and thinking, listen, man, Chelsea are just one defeat away from us and we win our games with us catching them.
Yeah.
That is a feasible target. And I think that Arsenal have every right to be thinking along those lines. But what do you think? You've heard what Curtis has had to say. You've heard what I've had to say. What do you guys think? Send us in your comments. Let us know what you think. Keep the show interactive. We like all that type of stuff. Curtis, in closing, you want to say anything?
No, people, just make sure you follow my channel, Curtis Shaw TV, and hopefully we get the win this week, and then North London Derby build up next week, which will be massive. So
massive. They're all massive games. We're entering into that phase of the season.
Biggest North London Derby in years, really, couldn't it?
It could also be the biggest last game for many years, isn't it? Because you said earlier, it could come down to that last game where we need something and the Everton needs something to stay in the Premier League. Yeah. Can you imagine that?
It's crazy.
It's absolutely crazy. But it's entertaining. It's got us all talking. And guys, keep following, keep watching us. Like, share, subscribe. Keep yourselves healthy, well. And we'll see you next week. Take care. We're out.